Hello everyone, welcome to Sid Meier Civilization 5. My name is Kazia, it is so wonderful to have you here today. We have a very special game for you today, as this is not an AI game like I've done with a great game, but rather a sort of let's play hybrid. We are playing a modded game of Sid Meier Civilization 5 as Numidia, a civilization I personally designed. And all the gameplay you see is footage I recorded myself and have been playing myself. Now, I'm not the best at Sid Meier Civilization 5, I want to make this clear, but let me clarify the game that I've set up here. We are doing a true start location Earth game. This means we are using the Yet Not Another Earth Maps pack, Earth Mark III. This is the best Earth full map in the map pack, and I love it to death. We are using true start location civilizations, which means every civilization, including the AIs, are in their true start locations. As Numidia, we start in Kirta, which is roughly near Constantine, Algeria. Now, a bit of history about the Numidians and their kingdom, right? Numidia was composed of Punic peoples and Berber peoples sort of merged together, right? And this was during the Roman Empire. This is a very classical era civilization. Under their king Massinissa, they went against Carthage and basically wiped out Carthage with the substantial help of the Roman Empire, you might have heard. And Massinissa was, in fact, significantly to blame for the actual defeat of Carthage and its total collapse and subsequent assimilation into Rome. Massinissa's unique ability is the Death of Sophonisba, which allows him to pillage city-state tiles, and if he can demand tribute from city-states, the more city-states he can demand tribute from, the more gold he gains from pillaging any tile. This allows him to purchase the unique unit, the Auxiliary Cavalry, which is only able to be purchased and is a chariot archer replacement, right? But it does get some substantial bonuses to combat as well. Moving on, we see the unique building, the Bazina. The Bazina grants plus 2 gold for every city-state you can intimidate. Furthermore, if you purchase a unit, that unit gets a free 15 experience. Well, I say free, you have to purchase the unit still. And if it's a cavalry unit, it can move after purchase. This allows for you to quickly mobilize your auxiliary cavalry that you can purchase. Really. But even beyond that, you can purchase any cavalry unit, or rather any mounted unit. Let's clarify, right? Later on, this will not take effect for units like tanks or land ships. With that out of the way, let's move on with the actual gameplay. I want to very briefly just touch on the many modders who have made this series possible, and for every civilization featured in this game, all of them are modded, and if you want to see the collection I have put together for this game, a link is in the description below. Hopefully. I hope I'm not saying that and I forget to do it, like right as I'm uploading the episode. That would be shitty of me. But hey. Now, we're just going to sort of explore the map as we've got it. There's not too much to say early on, and honestly, the first episode, it's gonna be a lot of talking, really. There's not too much to say. As I was recording this, I noticed that we sort of drag on for the very early game because we don't meet a civilization until like turn 50 or something. It's particularly a consequence of this being a very big map with a lot of open space. One thing I want to mention is I do have a map for the actual true start locations of every civilization I featured. I do not have any civilizations in the Americas because, simply put, they could steamroll if left unchecked, and I didn't have that many slots unless I downloaded a mod, but that mod requires you to basically get rid of city-state slots in exchange for having more civilizations. Now, I personally chose to play as Numidia, and as you can see, I'm sort of moving ahead very quickly. I've added in some cuts to sort of cut sort of lulls and content here and there. I can't cut too much because that would be cutting out most of the game at that point, but I did want to at least speed things up because there is a very slow early game with this setup. It will not stay that way. So, a couple things I want to mention. And the reason I chose Numidia is not only because I just developed a civ, right? I wanted a civilization I knew very well, which is sort of the reason I chose one I developed personally, but also one that I felt would grab people's attention and was popular. And Numidia actually had a very positive reception amongst other people in the community. And, you know, I'm always happy when people enjoy my civilizations. It's not really the goal of making a civilization to please others, but that sort of sounds wrong, actually. It's a side objective, right? There's no main objective besides just enjoying what you do, I feel. But I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who disagree with me in one way or another. I have found that when I designed mods to try and please other people, it generally resulted in worse content. So I decided to instead make mods that I would enjoy. And that has resulted in the best mods I've developed, right? It resulted in Numidia, it resulted in the Pechenegs, it results in a whole bunch of my favorite civilizations that I've designed. And I don't know if that's necessarily the case for civilizations other modders have designed, but there are civilizations by modders who I've spoken to extensively that I love, right? I've spoken to Jesse Frederick Daly, JFD, who designed a lot of my favorite civilizations and designed the most civilizations out of basically any other modder. I couldn't even pick out a single favorite, but I actually really like a lot of their sort of industrial era civilizations, because they've done a lot, right? They've done so many different civilizations. I really like Raw Sasquatch's civilization, and I mentioned this extensively when I record the Great Game. And Raw Sasquatch is great when they really hit it out of the park. I loved their Hrushevsky Ukraine. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correct. Hrushevsky. Mikhailo Hrushevsky. I have no idea how to pronounce that. And they also did this really controversial civilization that I just love to death because of how simple and effective it is. I'm not going to mention it because I would get slaughtered in the comment section. Regardless, I don't like it for political reasons, I like it for its design. All that out of the way, we've been discovering some barbarian encampments, no city-states yet, which is really odd. We have a total of 40 city-states in this game, right? I included 18 players, including ourselves, which means most of the map should be taken up by city-states. We have not seen any in West Africa, which is where we are currently, and sort of exploring the Sahara reveals nothing. One thing I will mention is that Yet Not Another Earth map pack is not only a true start location Earth, it is a very big Earth map, and it has a lot of historically accurate features. As such, you can see the Sahara is mostly desert. It's not a great start for us, and it's going to be a very slow start for us as well. You will see later on that I will eventually sort of catch up. It probably won't be until like episode 2 or 3, which is really funny. But yeah, of course I go for tradition early on because that's basically the meta strategy for games. And I do want to mention the difficulty for this game and the speed it's at. I'm playing on Emperor difficulty, and it is epic speed. So it's a bit slower because I wanted to accommodate the map. Furthermore, time victory is off, as well as culture victory. And this is a very controversial subject, but in my experience, I don't like culture victory. I don't think it's great. But also, on a map of this scale with only a couple civilizations, either one person's gonna snowball or nobody's gonna win at all. I don't want either of those scenarios, so I just cut out culture victory. So that leaves us with domination, diplomacy, and science victories as a way to get out of this hellhole we call Earth. Now, you might notice that turns take a while because we have a lot of city-states. We only have 18 civilizations, like I mentioned, so those turns take a little shorter, but that's only because there's less of them. Later on, they'll probably take a lot more time because they have more cities, more units, and all that. And you will find, hell, I'm still recording the series as I'm narrating this, but you will find that a lot of the civilizations that are opposing us are going to expand very rapidly early on, which leaves us in a tricky position, right? We do need to take advantage of our abilities to win, and we also need to plan out how we could make up for the inherent deficit we have as a starting human player against Emperor level AIs. Emperor level AIs get some inherent bonuses in order to compete against players. If I went for a deity level, which is the highest difficulty level, I felt I would not be able to really win at my skill level, at least. I'm sure there's some amazing Civilization 5 players who can absolutely devastate a deity AI on this Earth Mark III map. I don't have that skill level, and frankly, I just sort of like playing Civilization 5 to relax. And that's something I wanted to do with this series. I wanted something that I could record and edit and not feel too stressed about all the minor details. As we move on, we still only have one city. Don't worry, this will change eventually. But this is actually part of the strategy I'm working with, right? So, one of the main meta strategies for Civilization 5 is to settle about 4 cities early on, and to get the National College by roughly turn 100. Now, that's for standard speed. For epic speed, I believe it's about turn 150 as a conversion rate. I'm not 100% sure. It was advice I was given to by another model named G-Puzzle a while back. And the reason I'm not playing on standard is, as I mentioned, I wanted this to be a slower paced game with a lot more development later on. But ultimately something that's still, despite being slower, very well paced, which is why I didn't go marathon. We are running into a lot of barbarians. We do see some ancient ruins as well. But ultimately, I feel we are kind of screwed if we don't find city-states. That's going to be a point of issue for us. City-states are the lifeblood of this civilization design, and keep in mind, if I was running an AI game, I don't typically put civilization city-states in AI games. They don't really compete that well. They don't really add much, and if they really can't win, it's better to just replace them with full civilizations. Which is why the great game has 60 of the fuckers. And only one can win. If you're very interested in seeing that, there's a playlist on my channel. I'm not going to link that in the description. I'm going to have too many links in the description at the end of this. But regardless, you can probably hear me shifting around a bit in my seat. I'm terribly sorry if that annoys you. I had to replace my headset a while back, and the microphone on this one is a little more sensitive. What else was I saying? Yeah. So, with the progress we've been making, I'm not 100% sure that we're going to meet any other civilization in this episode. Right? We're about 16 minutes in. I think I planned this to be about 20 minutes long. And, you know, we haven't met any other civilization yet. Simply put, we haven't met any other city-state yet, either. It's not great for us. And I'm not going to spoil everything. We will eventually meet other civilizations and city-states. But for now, we have to make do with what we have. And that's sort of a life lesson for a lot of people, right? Life will hand you a piece of shit on a platter. And you've got to make do with the tools you've got. Sometimes they aren't the tools you need, but they're what you have. Now, that is just me getting a little philosophical on you. You know, I dabble in philosophy. I sound like such a prick. But one great thing about the Sahara, actually, as sort of a rough TSL, is that salt actually spawns in greater currents in desert. So you can see there's actually 4 salt tiles on that one river down south. I am not 100% sure I'm going to get that salt yet. If someone settles it, I'll conquer them. You know, we've got armies in the future, hypothetically. What was I saying? Oh yeah, by the way, you will see a lot of civilizations founding pantheons in the background. I don't think I end up founding a pantheon in time, so we don't end up getting religion. But it wasn't really something I was working for anyways. It's a nice boon, but it is not a necessity for our gameplay style. Right? I did debate giving some faith bonuses to the Bazina, because it's sort of like a mausoleum. But ultimately I decided against it, because I thought, you know, it didn't work that well. We are approaching the final about 45 seconds of the episode, so I just want to say to everyone who's joined me for this first episode of this wonderful series, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate having my audience here, and especially, like, I want to thank you guys for being patient between uploads as I try to figure out what's working, what isn't. And the great game will continue, by the way. One of the big things I'm struggling with right now is just trying to balance that in college, which I believe is understandable. With all that out of the way, if you liked this content and you want to see more, please be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below. This is Kazia, signing off. Bye-bye!